Hi, Michael,
Hello.
and welcome everyone to this first episode of Movers Green Job Pioneers interview series. So, in this series of interviews, we will interview a lot of inspiring changemakers who actually take action for the climate in many, many ways, but also through their daily work. So that you can get an idea of what is a green job, what are the different possibilities of green jobs, and what do you need to do, what do you need to study or not study, etc., etc. So today, very, very honored to welcome Michael, who's also part of the Movers community and YECAP community, so we know each other quite well. But yeah, maybe just to kickstart, Michael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Jinlong, for considering me for this an online interview. So my name is Michael VL Chhandama, and I just want to briefly explain the meaning of my my last name. So I'm from Mizoram, which is in the northeast part of India, and my name VL Chhandama means Vanlal Chhandama, which means saved by grace. So that's just a brief definition of my meaning of my name. So as I have mentioned, I come from Mizoram, India, and professionally, I'm a research scholar at JAIN University under environmental biotechnology. I also teach at various universities, and recently I just got a job as a project assistant in Mizoram University. And I'm also, as Dinlong has mentioned, I'm an ambassador in Movers Program and a fellow under YECAP. So that's a brief introduction of myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. So how would you say is your, official job title? Is it research scholar?
Yes, for now, it's a research scholar and project assistant. So that's my official title of my job.
Okay. Could you maybe share what is exact research topic,
Yeah.
and maybe also describe a bit your job. What is it about?
Hmm. So my the research which I am doing, the topic is a bit lengthy, but I will explain it word by word. So the title of my topic of my research is biodiesel production from stress-induced microalgae, which is isolated from different sources of water. So basically, what we are doing for this project is we tried and we actually developed or generated a biodiesel, which is eco-friendly and sustainable from an organism called microalgae. And for those who don't know microalgae, I think we all know what is a seaweed. So seaweed is a family of microalgae. So seaweed is macroalgae, which is a larger organism, and microalgae are a smaller organism. So those organisms have a lot of oil content, and that oil content, we try to increase their oil content, and that oil we are trying and we have converted into biodiesel, which has met all the international standards. So that is what my research is doing and what we are doing right now.
And like for this research, like what is your role? What do you do every day, or could you describe a typical week at work?
Yes. So for example, let's say I am doing, so let's consider I have just started my research. So my first project will be getting those microorganisms, because without those organisms, we do not have any feedstock to produce biodiesel. So the first thing is I have gone to different cities within India. I have traveled to so many places collecting water samples, because it is from those water samples that we isolate that microorganism and culture it and cultivate it and multiply it so that we can extract the oil. So once I have the microorganism in my lab, I look at protocols from different research paper, what they are doing. And from that onwards, I try to come up with my own experimental protocols and see and test the protocols. And if that is not working, try another method. If that is not working, try another method. So it's just trial and error. And so in a typical week in my lab, So it's if I'm going to start my work this week, I have to plan for my work the previous week. So the previous week I have collected all the research articles and plan for the work in this week. So I will arrive at my lab and collect and see if all we have the chemicals, and if there are chemicals. There are so many research scholars in my university, so I have to book all the instruments because they also have to use it. I have to use it, so we need to book a typical slot so that we can use those instruments. So I book it and then see the research materials which I have collected the previous week and started doing the experiments. And then that experiments can last for 1 day, it can last for 3 days, sometimes it lasts for 1 week. And if it doesn't show a result, I have to repeat the same thing the next week with a different protocols. So it's just trial and error until we get the results. And even if we get the results, one result can be out of a luck. So it has to be that there is a constant result for that particular protocol. So we need at least 3 consistent results. So we keep on experimenting. That is why it is called research. Sometimes we fail, sometimes we get the results. So that is a typical week or months or years of my research.
That's super cool. And maybe, could you share a bit and maybe in I guess you'll have to explain some technical words, I guess, but some, I don't know, one experiment that you are doing recently.
Okay, so let me let me think about it. Okay, so one part of my experiment was we collected an industrial wastewater, and we also see that microorganism, in addition to biodiesel production, we are testing whether that organism can also be used for wastewater treatment. So I have collected wastewater treatment, which is collected from different industrial effluents. So industrial wastewater I have collected and I store it in a fridge. And then I have to use that within 2 days, because after 2 days, it doesn't have any significance. So that industrial wastewater, I have collected it, and there are different characteristics of a wastewater. Maybe we can see the heavy metal content, maybe we can see the phosphorus content, maybe we can see the nitrogen content. All those are water pollutants in a simple language. So first, I have seen the water pollutant content of that wastewater. And then I put my organism, which is microalgae, in that wastewater and see if it can grow. Because as I have mentioned, we need to do a background check on every experiment beforehand. So I have read that my organism use phosphorus, nitrogen, which I have mentioned as a water pollutant, as their source of food. So if a wastewater have all those phosphorus, nitrogen as one of their content, my microorganism can actually grow in those wastewater. And while growing those, my microorganism will take up phosphorus, will take up nitrogen from that water. And as I have mentioned, phosphorus and nitrogen are water pollutants. If my organism can take up those, that means from that water samples, there will be a reduction in the number of phosphorus and in the number of nitrogen. So I put my microorganism in the wastewater I have collected, and then after a few days or after like 1 month, I have checked the content of phosphorus and nitrogen again. And then if there is a reduction in the phosphorus and the nitrogen content, that means my microorganism eats up those chemicals, and in turn it also treat that wastewater, because there is a reduction in the concentration of the water pollutants. So there is a separate protocols to measure the phosphorus content, to measure the nitrogen content. So before and after growing my organism in that wastewater, I have checked those concentration. And if there is a reduction in those content, that means my microorganism actually treat that wastewater. So that is one of the research which I am doing. I don't know whether you can understand it or not.
No, it's super interesting. And it makes me think, it's also And I'm sure you simplified a lot as well
Mm,
for me.
mm,
But I wonder, for this, I mean, to be a researcher and to work on this topic, I guess it's
mm,
something you had to study, right,
mm.
before? Like, how
Yes.
did you end up taking this research?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. So my research journey actually begins during my first year of my master's. So I did not introduce my subject before, so I have taken a biotechnology during my bachelor and my master. And during the last year of my master, we studied Millennium Development Goals, which is now Sustainable Development Goals. And under different development goals, this climate action really sparks an interest in me. And it is mandatory in India. And I also believe that in other countries also, that during my final year of my master, we have to do a mini project or a huge project. And during my master, there were also research scholars, PhD scholars in our university. So I was just out of curiosity. I was visiting their labs and see what they are doing. So some researchers are working on the preservation of blood. Some researchers are doing on the extraction of biochemicals for the use of drugs, and some researchers are actually working on bioenergy. So out of those different researches which are going on in my university, and also which can relate to the interest I have in sustainable development goal number 13. So I really communicate with those researchers who are working on bioenergy. And then I question them, I ask them for a research paper so that I can also study myself. And then under the guidance of my professor, I actually started doing those bioenergy production from a typical grass which is available in India. So my professor has given me lots of paper regarding different feedstocks which can be used as a source of bioethanol and biodiesel. So out of those different, by reading those different research articles, it came automatically that you learn something, and when you learn something there is a curiosity, so you keep on learning and researching. And then I find one part uh, or one feedstock which really sparks an interest in me, so I studied that feedstock. So I did a project on my master, but it was not a huge project, it's a mini project. And then after finishing my masters, that curiosity, that research interest, actually, like, it cannot die in my heart. But I did not do my PhD or my research immediately after finishing my master. So I worked in a corporate for 1 year, and then but that 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 thirst for research was there during that whole 1 year. So I quit my job in the corporate. I wrote a proposal for to do research in biodiesel production, and luckily my proposal got accepted, and that's how I got into research.
Wow, nice. Such a cool journey. And I really like when you say, you actually, there were researchers in your uni, so you actually went to meet them.
Mm.
I think that's so important. And it's what we try to do as well with this interview so that people can meet you and maybe, you inspire the next generation of
Mm.
researchers. And yeah, you mentioned, about climate, that it was the reason why
Mm.
you decided to take on this career path. I mean, could you share in your own words, like,
Mm.
how does this research contribute to climate change? I mean, to
Yes.
fighting climate change.
Yeah. Good question. Yes. So one of the highest contributor of greenhouse gases is the combustion from the transport fuel. And I don't know about other countries. In India, there is a huge sector in transport which use diesel and petrol. So I think we already know that by the combustion of petrol and diesel, there is a lot of greenhouse gases which is emitted in the atmosphere, which further causes climate change. So there are different, like, if you wanted to go into a green career path, there are many sectors. But like, for example, solar energy and hydro energy all those stuffs. But my focus is on biodiesel production and bioethanol production because it relates to my country and my experience. Because in my country, we have used a lot of petrol and we have used a lot of diesel. So especially the part where I was doing my research, every day we see a traffic jam because there are lots and lots of vehicles. So, and those vehicles use a petrol and diesel. So I think that one of the things which I can contribute is deriving an alternative source of energy which can replace, or if it cannot replace, reduce the use of petrol and diesel. So that is why I choose this research part of generating or developing biodiesel, which can replace or reduce the use of conventional diesel, which produce a lot of greenhouse gases, which ultimately leads to climate change. So that is how I choose this particular stream of research.
Wow, that's so cool. And you speak about this with so much passion, which leads me to my next question. What makes you happy doing this job?
Yes. So to be very honest, I just wanted to tell all the people who are interested in research that it's not always sunshines and flowers every day. Because as I have mentioned, if you are going to do a research, to get one result, you are going to have a lots and lots of failures. And to come up with one protocol, it needs months of studies, months and months of studies. And once you do months and months of studies, you will come up with a protocol. And that protocol might not work out because one researchers might do it in a different country and the climatic conditions of that particular country might affect that protocol. So it might not be applicable in your own lab. So you are going to have a lots and lots of failures. So be prepared. But the thing is, I am always interested in science and I am always interested in research. So that's why even if there is a failure, it's just a motivation for me to go on. So any failure, even though at times it's very demotivating, you pick yourself up, and once you get the results, it is very satisfying. And you know that that result is not only for you, it's for your entire community, it's for the society, and it's for the betterment of the environment and the planet. So once you get a good results, which will ultimately, directly or indirectly, will influence for the betterment of the society, will make you very, very happy. So that is what makes me happy. And also in the beginning, I have mentioned that I work as a part-time lecturer. So communicating and interacting with young people, we have this in a movers community, learn and unlearn. So they sometimes when I interacted with the youths, with my students, so I learn and unlearn myself. So it gives me energy, it gives me a good vibe, and it keeps me young, it gives me energy. So those two are the things which makes me happy in my line of work.
So cool. Yeah, no, really love your take on, there are so much failures until you actually arrive at some successful experiment, and it's really, yeah, it's very interesting. I never saw it this way. Um, and yeah, as a researcher, especially working on climate slash energy, what would you say are the skills and experience that someone like need?
Mm. So for my line of work, obviously you need a background on science. So I took class 10 was like the basic subject, so you take everything. But once you started class 11 and 12, I don't know how it is in other countries, but for us in India, once you pass high school, there is class 11 and class 12. So you need to take biology, you need to take physics, you need to take chemistry, and you either take mathematics or computer science. So those are the different subjects which you need to do, you need to study. And then once you go into college, there is a Bachelor of Science which specializes in biotechnology. So you take it, and in a master, you went into a more specialization. So during bachelor, you take like biotechnology as a whole. But once you go into master, maybe you can take plant biotechnology, maybe you can take animal biotechnology, environmental biotechnology. So for me, I focuses more on environmental biotechnology. So that is the background which you need as a researchers in my line of work.
Cool. Environmental biotechnology. That's a
Yes.
key word I was missing. Perfect.
Mm.
uh, cool, yeah. And since we speak about green job, I think one question that is interesting for everyone listening. But is it a job that about the financial expectation? Does it
Mm.
meet your personal expectations, or is it something that you had to think twice
Mm.
before going through this career path?
Mm. Yeah, good question. So people always ask me, or my junior always asks me, like, is it rewarding? What's the pay and all the stuff? So I always say to those people, if you want to be very rich, if you want to be like, if you want to be rich, like basically, like, don't go into this research stream. Especially, I don't know about other countries. So as of right now, the amount of funds and the amount of monetary uh, values which are put into research is a bit low. So I always told, if you wanted to be rich, don't take science and don't go into research. But if you go into a research, yes, you have income or you have fellowship and you receive funds that are capable, or that is enough to meet your basic needs. You are not going to be rich. You may be rich after a long, long time once you become a senior professor and you are doing a lot of projects. But as a starting green job, uh, once when you start a green job and once you go into a research, especially, don't expect a high salary, but you will receive a salary which will be which we can pay for your basic necessities and which will make you comfortable, but it's not going to make you rich. So this is always my answer to those people who question me. So it's not going to make you rich, but it can pay for a comfortable life. You will meet your basic necessities. Once you do when you do a research, sometimes your fellowship might not be enough, so you might need to work for a second job. You will need to hustle, because I also work as an guest lecturer in universities, and sometimes I do like a kind of a business. I sell something, so you have to hustle, but it's good. I am grateful for all the hustles. Yes.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing the reality as well, because it's something I think very important to know when deciding to choose a green career path. Um, and yeah, along the lines of this, what would be maybe other advice you would have for young people listening, watching, and who are like, I would love. I mean, what Michael says, it's interesting. Maybe I would love to explore a bit more and maybe myself become a climate, energy, environment researcher. What would you tell them to keep exploring this path?
Mm. Yes, the first thing is you have to be very patient. So this is not the part where you can get the results, as I have mentioned, like tomorrow or the next day. And especially while publishing your scientific research, because in my line of work, your publication in a scientific journal, in a peer-reviewed journal, counts when you need a promotion. So the number of research articles which you publish will be counted when you need a promotion. And it is very, very difficult to publish your article in a very reputed journal. So you, like, for example, uh, this year I have published 2 articles I can remember. But to publish the 2 articles in 2 good journals, the number of rejection I have from different journals are like 20 rejections. I have submit article, they have rejected. So different journal I have submitted and they have rejected. So you need to be very patient. So the first thing is patience. And also the thing is you need to believe in you need to believe in your research. You need to believe in the purpose of your research. So as long as you believe in the purpose of your research, so many people will say, like, you have taken this long to do your research, what's the use? And they are going to demotivate you. It might not be their intention, but you will face lots and lots and lots of criticism, maybe demotivating words, but you need to believe in your research, and you need to believe in yourself, and you need to have patience. So that is my advice for people who wanted to come into into this line.
Cool, thank you. And I think it's really advice we could apply to a lot of things in our life. So it's a good reminder. Um, if we put you back, at before you started, before you met the researchers at your uni, but when you were
Yeah.
younger, did you ever think you would do this in your life?
Uh, n- I always wanted to be a teacher. So I still remember when I was young, my father gave me, not gave me, he actually built a blackboard. So I always remember like pulling my grandpa to behave as a student. And then I remember my sister's tutor teaching her about a Pythagoras theorem. So whatever I have listened, I used to teach it to my grandfather. So I always remember wanted to be a teacher. So till now I wanted to be a teacher, and I also teach. But this I never thought about doing a research, and I never know what is a biotechnology, because during my childhood there is no word for biotechnology because it's a new word. And as I have mentioned, during my 11th standard, which means I just passed out my high school, so we learn about cells, we learn about cell division, we learn about how to make medicines. So from that onwards, I started interest in doing like what is a research, and I always have this curiosity. But at that time, I don't know about what is environmental biotechnology. I never been exposed to bioenergy and all those fields, all those stuff. But I just know that I love science, and I am always curious about something. So when I learn something, I'm always about curious about something. So I still remember I'm so curious that one of my teacher got so frustrated, so he sent me to a library because he was like frustrated of me asking so many questions, and I took most of his class hours. So he sent me to a library, and he asked me to find the answers in the library so that he can save time in teaching others. So I always have this curiosity, and I always love science. And I don't know what other subjects I will take other than science. So that is my journey. I never directly think that I will do a research on environmental biotechnology in bioenergy. But I always know that I love science and I am curious about something. So that is my answer to this question.
That's really cool. And if we look at a bit at the future, how do you see the future of, I mean, your future, in research, and how do you see also the future of, I don't know, climate research in general, and random question as well. Do you want to work at the IPCC someday?
Yeah. So as I have mentioned, I always wanted to be a teacher. So till now, I will always want to be in the academy and teach. So till I'm retired, I want to teach. So that is my long-term plan. But in addition to teaching, I always wanted to be. I don't know. I don't have any particular organization or a department which I wanted to work on, but I wanted to be in a position where I can grants a fund, or whether I can decide this person will get a funds to do this research, this person will get a fund to do this research, or be in that board or that position which can make a decision for the betterment of a research world. So I don't know which organization or which department, which funding agency, but I know that I wanted to be in that position as well as teach. So that is my future goal.
That's really, really cool. Hope you will manage to have this role soon. No, thanks. I think we had a good overview of your work. Maybe is there anything that we didn't speak about your job, research that you would like to share?
Yes, so as I have mentioned, I'm a research scholar slash project assistant. So that project assistant comes recently last week. So that was my, I just submitted my joining report last week as a project assistant here in Mizoram University. So the work which we are about to do, which we have not started, there is a hydel project in Mizoram. So that hydel project, we are going to see that hydel project pollutes the surrounding environment or not, particularly the water. So does it pollute, does it contributes to the increasing in the concentration of heavy metals? Does it affect the aquatic life? Does it affect the biodiversity? We have not started that work, so I just submitted the joining report last week. So that is the work which I will be doing, and I am very excited to work on. Yeah, so that's, I just wanted to pitch in that.
Cool. Thank you so much, Michael. And yeah, if anyone has, any question for you about your career or anything, how can they reach out to you?
Yes. So my name is Michael VL Chhandama. So I am available by that name in Facebook, in LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. So anyone can reach out to me. I'm very available. But please mention the how you know me so that I can answer your question, or if I will accept you as a friend or not. So please, when you reach out to me, please mention that you heard me from this platform. So yeah, that is how they can reach out to me. And yeah, I think that is how they can reach out to me.
Thank you so much. So yeah, pretty much anywhere
Yes.
on the internet.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you so much, Michael, for your time. I'm sure you will inspire a lot of people to, think and maybe pursue career in research, climate research. Thank you so much. And yeah, me too. I learned a lot. And yeah, all the listeners, I hope you got inspired. Reach out to Michael if you have any question. But tell him why,
Yes.
how you came up with his name and what is your question. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Michael.